Good morning, students. Today we're going to talk about what an O.I.E.C is. O-I-E-C. We use an O.I.E.C. Actually, the first letter in O.I.E.C is O for observation. You use your five senses in the science classroom: see, smell, hear, touch, and taste. Not that we're going to taste everything here, but that's one of the observations that we can use. The second part of the O.I.E.C is the inferences. You're taking textual information, prior knowledge, and making an inference about what you see or hear or observe. The third part of the O.I.E.C is evidence. You're taking any evidence that you find based on your observations and your inferences. And the last one are your conclusions. Based on your observations, your inferences, and your evidence, what do you conclude from either your experiment or what we've been learning in the classroom? And that is your O.I.E.C. So let's take a closer look into the O.I.E.C and how we use it in the science classroom. So this is what it's going to look like. You have your observation on the top left-hand corner. You have your inference on the bottom left-hand corner. You have your evidence on the bottom right-hand corner. And on the top right-hand corner, you have your conclusions. You also have sentence stems that start with I see, I think, because, and therefore. And usually your title of the unit or what you're studying goes right in the center. So let's see how to use this in the science classroom. So we have a picture of animals and some type of habitat. So how do we use this? Actually, how do we use the O.I.E.C using this picture? So first, let's talk about some of the observations we can make about this picture. First thing I can say is there are living organisms in this picture. You have fish in a pond. You have grasses and plants. You have lily pads in the water. And obviously you have mammals as well. Another observation I can make in this is non-living organisms. You have water. You have air. And sunlight. So those are all non-living organisms. So how do we use this in the O.I.E.C? Oh, and one more thing, sorry. And you have a dead log, which is a non-living organism. So what I would do is under observation, I would say I see various living organisms and non-living organisms. Okay, the next thing is making inferences about this picture. So obviously we said we had living organisms and non-living organisms. Well, I know that plants and grasses grow, so that makes them living. I know that animals breathe in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. I also know that plants and animals reproduce. And we also know that organisms are composed of cells. Living organisms are composed of cells. And that organisms can adapt to the environment as well. What do we know about non-living organisms? Well, they don't breathe, they don't reproduce, and they do not contain cells or adapt to their environment as well. So how do we plug this into our O.I.E.C? Under inferences, I think living organisms breathe, reproduce, grow, and are made up of cells. And non-living organisms do not breathe, reproduce, and are not made up of cells. So let's continue. So the next thing we're going to do is find our evidence. What's our evidence for this? Or where can we find our evidence for this? Well, let's talk about living organisms. Living organisms. Growth. How do we know things are growing? Well, they're tall grasses, short grasses. We can see that. That's our evidence. How do we know things are breathing? First things first, we see the fish in the water. They take in oxygen from that water. And we know that deer and animals breathe in oxygen as well. If you see the deer up and walking around, well, then you know it's alive and breathing. And we produce. We can see various offsprings. You can see two turtles on the left-hand corner. And you can see various species of animals in this picture as well. So how do I put that in there? I can see the grass is green and growing, the fish is breathing on the water, and the deer is alive. Okay. My evidence for the non-living things would be the sun is a non-living thing, the air is non-living, and so is the water. And the last thing is our conclusion. What kind of conclusions can we make based on our observations, our inferences, and our evidence? Well, I could say that this is an ecosystem. And what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non-living components of the environment. Okay? So the conclusion, therefore, I would say this is an ecosystem, which is a community of living organisms in conjunction with the non-living components of the environment. It contains all all biotic and abiotic factors. Biotic factors are things that are alive, living, and abiotic factors are things that are non-living. So my title for this picture would be ecosystem. So pretty simple, that's how we use the O.I.E.C. We're going to use it in the classroom a lot. So I hope you enjoy this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the classroom.